talk about?
I don't know. Mad VR came out with a new one. Kaleidoscape News is kind of old.
Oh, we're live. Hey.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Daily HiFi. It's just me and Joe tonight, right now, man. We're gonna have a party.
Yeah, I know for sure Chana says he's gonna be sleeping
Yeah,
because he
yeah
needs his
he's
rest.
taking a siesta, man, but much needed rest. So, trying to get
Yeah.
some rest.
And
We'll
then
tech
Aaron, he just pops in whenever he feels like. If he's driving around, he has some extra time, he'll pop in.
for sure,
Um,
man.
but what's good with you, man? What's
I
new?
am I am good. Oh, it's funny. I think it's kind of funny. Edifier. So you've done some of their stuff, right?
I did like 3 speakers in one review. Like they sent
Yeah.
me a bunch all at once, and then so I just like, all right.
They sent me 3 of their headphones. I haven't opened them yet. So we
And
got
so you said yes, first of all. Like I just want to make sure like it didn't just arrive because
no,
sometimes
no,
that
no,
happens,
no. They
right?
reached out. They're like, "Hey, we've got
Okay.
some headphones." I'm like, "Hey, I think that's a company that Joe reviewed. They're affordable. So these are some. I had them upside down. No, I didn't.
Yeah. So
That's weird.
so yeah, that company is
There's a couple
they
pair.
manufacture a bunch of products
Mm-hmm.
and they're made in China
Mm-hmm.
and they go directly, from manufacturing directly to the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Save some
that's
money,
I
like
mean,
cost
that's
wise
huge.
for the
Like
consumer.
manufacturing direct to consumer through Amazon, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of been their approach for a long time. And so they're
True.
able to keep the cost down and you know, of course you can undercut a lot when you can do that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So they
have you
sent me a
tested?
couple models. They said, "Hey, what do you think?" I'm like, I don't know. I said, "Do you have any kind of video like comparing 3 of your models?"
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "That might be interesting instead of just doing a review on a single." And so they're like, "That's actually a pretty cool idea." So I've got like kind of like a really affordable set,
Uh-huh.
kind of one in the middle, and then one of their higher end set. So we just kind of see like what are the materials, how do they compare, where's the best value, sound
Well,
quality.
how are you listening now? Because normally you usually wear headphones. And what's happening here?
Honestly, it doesn't echo at all. So it's literally my computer speakers. So
Wow.
does it
Look at
sound
you.
okay?
Yeah.
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 Because I'd rather
I knew
not
something
have,
was different. I'm like, what's
yeah, I'd rather not have the headphones on if I don't have
Mhm.
to. As long as there's no reverb, we're good. So, but yes, I've been trying that lately.
Keeping
Michael is
up with the
creative
Joneses
genius.
says Michael is a creative genius.
I don't know about that, man.
Yeah, he's pretty
Uh,
he's pretty good,
yeah. So
He's got a few followers.
I did a video yesterday that was probably one of the longest videos that took me to film and edit. Um, Honestly, what I was trying to do, so 4 years ago, I made a video. Clip sent me 11 speakers, so
Mhm.
a whole 7.1.4 system. Made some videos on that, made a review, and that is my largest viewed video on my channel.
Mm.
Sadly enough, it was made 4 years ago, and it's garbage, man. Audio is crap. I had the Nikon camera, so the colors were whacked. Um, I think I had an external microphone, but it's mounted on the camera. Not many acoustic treatments in my room. So there's just everything's wrong with the video. The content's fine, but it's just the quality stinks. So I'm like, you know what? Clip sent me the new version of that, the reference Premiere 2.
Uh,
This is a perfect opportunity to remake that video and see if I can make it happen. But I'm like, I just want to do it well. Like I want this thing to be really nice quality. And so I just took my time on it. It took me about 3 days to do that, which that's long for me. I mean,
okay.
normally I can do a day and a half, sometimes a day, just depending for filming and editing. But yeah, but it just every time I sit down on the computer, I'm like, oh, I need some B-roll of that too. So I'd go back in there, film some more, come back in here, add it. I'm like, what else can I do? And it
So
was
did you
one thing
recreate
after
the
another.
magic of that video? Did?
I hope so. And I wanted to provide more value in
Mhm.
the video, and it's really geared for the new guy. It's like you're gonna watch that and go, really, Michael, you're showing me how to connect speakers. But the
Yeah, that's
reality is
that's a tough thing. I've
there's
mentioned before like
yeah.
it's tough because I know your target is
Mhm.
trying to keep it simple
Yeah, absolutely.
for the guy who I mean that's
Yeah.
a great idea. to
I
try to
want the
keep it
new
simple
guy.
for the new
I
guy.
want I want the new guys
Yeah.
to come in and go, I can do this. I get this. This makes sense, but I also want to provide some content that goes a little bit deeper for the more seasoned home theater enthusiasts.
Mhm.
But this definitely was, one of those that I just want to help that new guy that says, man, I've been thinking about doing a home theater, or I want to, but they're doing it in a living room too.
Yeah.
Because 2/3 of my audience said that they don't have a dedicated room. And so I'm like, what if I start making some content in the living room?
Yeah.
And so like Definitive Technology sent me 3 speakers. So I'm going to probably bring them in the living room and set them up there, do a little 5.1 system. I don't know, just trying to change up some stuff on the channel and just have some fun in the process and educate some folks. So, but yeah,
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I
trying to
just
have some fun.
recently did one for this projector, the BenQ,
Mhm,
what is this, GP500?
mhm. Do you
And it's
like it?
tough because I basically said it's a good all-arounder, right?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
not great at
Yeah,
one particular thing, right?
sure.
Like I know I would be way more interested for me personally, right?
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing because sometimes it's just about what you want. So
Mhm.
I want an inexpensive JVC competitor, right?
Yeah,
Of
sure.
course, that's what we all kind of want. We want
Yeah,
like awesome black levels
right.
at a much lower price point.
Sure.
And so this is not that, right?
Yeah.
It's totally not that. It's like
Yep.
black levels aren't that great.
Mhm.
Um, but it does other things good. Like it has good built-in speakers, but like I
Yeah,
don't care about the built-in speakers on a projector, right?
sure.
You know, so I try to understand what
Mm,
they're going for, right? Like
right.
who's their target, and is it
Correct.
good for their purpose, right? For that particular person. And so it's a little bit tough when it's not something that's made for me specifically, right?
Right.
I
Sure.
have to try to understand who
Yeah,
is it for and who is it
absolutely.
not for, things like that.
It'd be similar if I were to review a sound bar.
Hmm.
I don't really desire to have a sound bar in my theater room. I don't want one probably in the living room, but I realize now there are applications for a sound bar,
Yeah.
and I think it works great for certain people. If they don't want big speakers, if they don't need a surround sound setup, they just want better sound than their speakers, out of the TV. Okay, makes sense. They got a bedroom setup. Cool, go for it.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to, like you, I'm just trying to figure out, all right, what can I provide content wise that will reach more people? You know,
Yeah.
a
I
variety
know
of
what you mean about the sound bar though. Like to go off that, I have
Mhm.
an aunt, my aunt and uncle, right? They have, they just got a new TV, and the sound is
It's garbage. It's doo
horrible,
doo.
horrible. It's horrible on the TV. It's just,
Yeah.
thinner the TV, the worse the
Mhm.
sound, right?
Yep.
So they got this big old TV, and not very good sound on
Yeah.
there, right?
Yep.
Um, but I hooked them up with some old Polk speakers,
Mhm.
like some floor standing speakers, and it
Yeah.
matches.
Heck yeah.
The problem is that their AVR is really old, like it doesn't even have HDMI. It's an
Yeah.
old Denon, right?
Sure.
And so their new TV, it's not gonna really work together well. Like I'm not gonna get them a
Right.
Harmony remote to make it
Yeah.
work.
Exactly.
They need an AVR, but do they
Mhm.
want to spend 4, 5, $600 on even like the less
Mhm.
expensive Denon?
Exactly.
Probably not.
Yep.
It's probably not that high of you know,
Yeah.
on their uh list of things that are important to them. So in their case, I'm like, do I have any sound bars around here,
Sure.
that they could use? Because it just needs to turn on.
Yep.
The volume needs to work.
Yeah.
These are the things that they probably care about more. And the
Yeah.
fact that it actually has bass is probably like the next
Sure.
thing that's important to them. So
Yeah.
it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. I saw Marv, he mentioned the comment. He said the living room video is something I can relate to. I'm rocking 7.2.4 in my living room with limited location to put subwoofers. So absolutely. I think there's a lot of people that they fit into that. He says super important. Not everyone wants an actual theater in the home. Yeah. Just a place to enjoy movies. So again, I'm just trying to, I was always kind of focused on, like doing reviews in my dedicated theater room, which is cool.
Yeah.
The benefit of that is I've got an acoustically treated room. And so I know the speakers, whatever I review, are going to sound better in there. So I got to kind of figure that part out. Like, do I make some videos in the living room, then I take them in the theater room and hook them up to, I don't know. So I'm still working through that, but just trying to figure out some, how can I expand from what I'm doing versus just continue to do the same thing, so.
Well, it sounds like at least you have some perspective, right? So you can
Yeah,
say, hey, in my dedicated setup,
correct.
this
Yeah,
is, I know that not everybody can do this,
right.
but what you can get in a living room is
Right.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Right? It's
And I
not
think,
this level, but it's also way better than the TV and the soundbar
correct.
setup, so you can give some perspective that way.
Yeah, for sure. What's going on, Ronster? Good to see you guys.
Yeah, what's up to everybody? I see some of you guys here in the chat. Man, Anthony Perez, Chris Wyndham, Keeping Up with the Joneses, Marv, Tim Perry. I see you guys. Reverend Slim, Everyday J. Yeah, I see you guys. Ton, what's up?
What's going on, Billy?
Yeah,
Ike's in the house.
Ike's in the house. All right.
Steven, good to see you, man.
Let's see here. I have a few things that I wrote down that I thought were interesting. Not in any particular order, but I just got these speakers from Cali Audio. I thought this was kind of interesting. I'll mention them real quick. Get this
And
on
you've
the
had
screen.
good things to say about Cal, and I think Aaron as well, right?
You know what? I just they
Okay,
just
these are
keep making
different.
good stuff, right? Yeah, real different, right?
Yeah.
And so this is real interesting because it's like, what?
Yeah.
What? And it looks like what they did was they took the concentric from the IN5s that I really liked. And then this thing is like their bass module.
Interesting. Okay.
And you know what I like about these guys is they don't call it a subwoofer, right?
Bass module. Good.
I've seen people talk in the review and they're like, yeah, so, is this a sub? They're like, we call it something else, because it's not reaching some sonic frequencies.
Now, does it have its own built-in amplifier, or is it passive?
This is all the amplifier and everything's in here.
Okay.
So it's interesting. This is for studio monitoring,
It looks like they're angleable, if that's even a word. Can you rotate that little cup thing?
I'm guessing that you can.
Okay.
And so the idea is here, what's the size of these?
I'm guessing 6.5.
No, I think even smaller.
Is it 5 1/4?
Let's see.
4
Mid-range, 4.5. So they have the dual opposing on this.
Okay.
So the thing is, they've said that you can put the monitor on top of it.
Okay.
And it won't shake the monitor. Because they're first of all 4.5 inch. I don't expect too much shaking, but dual opposing also kind of situation.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And they say 39 hertz, right? That's not too shabby.
Yeah.
For a little.
I mean, the reality. For your desk, you don't necessarily need something that's gonna just hit those ultra low frequencies.
Yeah. So anyway, I just think it's gonna be interesting because it's such a different type of design, and we'll see. Charles Sprinkle has hit home runs so far, and we'll see if he continues to do so with this. $599, so it's not super cheap.
Yeah,
but
definitely
interesting.
Less expensive than like the 5s from Klipsch, Kanto Tux.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Wait and see. I think the other thing that's interesting about this is that the crossover. Let me see where the crossover is for that. 280 hertz is where
Paul.
280 hertz is where they cross over that bass, whatever they call it.
Oh mercy, man.
Yeah, it's high crossover point. What happened? What happened in the chat here?
Paul.
Where's Paul?
He's always got.
Oh my goodness.
4.5 is bigger than you can handle.
Okay. Right. So yeah, I'm excited to check those out.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
I think
you have anything.
That's one of the fun parts of our job. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we get to play around with some cool gear, experience some things that we might not have, had an opportunity to do otherwise, and check it out for a little while. And super cool, man.
Well, this reminds me, of course, you can't not think of the Bose setup, right?
Yeah.
And so the Bose one, there was issues in that the crossover, there were just gaps.
Yeah.
But there was just, the speaker couldn't handle it, and then their bass module couldn't handle it. And so you kind of get this dip in response that was audible. And so now you have the same thing, except now people who know how to measure, right? I'm sure Charles Sprinkle is not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious to see how far they've
How he
gone
did
with
it.
this kind of
Yeah.
design, you know?
Sure.
Let's see here. I have to do a quick plug.
Yeah.
So today, well, yeah, this morning I opened up the
Yeah. I
list
saw
for
your
the
post,
public
your
beta.
beta.
Yeah.
Nice.
So let's see here. So anybody who's interested, you just go to Joe and Tell here. I can put this up here. joeandtell.com/MB. And yeah, basically you can go in here, and it's a limited beta, meaning that we're gonna take a look and see what we need to test, and based on what what people have said here, we're gonna pick and choose.
Get some feedback.
But of course, anybody who signed up early, of course, I want to give them access as soon as possible. So it'll be fun. I'm very
Awesome.
excited to show what this can do.
It's cool when all the hard work is finally coming together, and you're like, this thing's about to hit. It's about to go live.
Yeah, well, the truth is, it never feels ready, right? You never feel 100% ready. Like right now, the design is not done yet.
Sure.
Right? The design is still the same, no design that we had when we first started, because we were just only working on functionality, right? So I could have said, you know what, I'm gonna wait till that's finished, and then we'll do this. And then, but there's always, but.
Right.
Finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna say, here's the public beta. I got to put the pressure on myself. There's always going to be something that needs to be fixed, but it can be fixed. Right?
Yeah, that's a good thing with software, is that this can change over time. You can have new versions. You can have updates to add functionality or to change the look and the feel of it. So
yeah, there's certain things I need to make sure that get right, though, right?
The core, yeah.
What I don't want to do is I don't want somebody to spend money on the app, do all this work, calibrate their system, and then say, oh, you know what, by the way, those hours that you spent, you kind of messed up. And this and this wasn't right.
Yeah.
That's not cool. Right.
Right.
So certain things you have to just get right. Example, off topic, but this weekend there was a fight. Right. Huge boxing match versus Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Right. Like the two stars right now. Okay. So I was over at Angela's parents' house, and I was like, well, I guess you just order pay-per-view the normal way. Like, didn't you just like go on a channel and order it from the TV, right?
If you
anyway,
got cable.
Didn't work. So I'm like, all right, I guess we'll have to do the streaming route, So I'm talking about paid streaming, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Paid streaming route. And so I saw that DAZN, DAZN, right?
Okay.
This company had this, right? And I went to buy it, and of course they do that whole thing where, oh, you want to buy the pay-per-view? You have to subscribe. I'm like, all right, I'll just do it, right? So it came out to $85 or whatever.
Yeah.
I bought it, and then what happened? I tried to watch it, and it says, well, you haven't bought it yet. I'm like, I just bought it.
Yeah.
And the fight's about to happen, right?
Sure.
I'm ready to watch it. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me just hit that buy button again, just in case. And I figured that, it'll just restore it or something, right? I hit that button. It charged me. Couldn't watch it.
Oh, dang.
Right? Look at, Fred knows, build everybody twice, right?
Wow.
So I go on Twitter, and everybody's having this issue.
Same thing.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
So this goes back to the whole software thing, right? There are certain things you cannot mess up, right?
Sure.
Certain things, yeah, that's fine, but you can't mess that up.
Yeah.
Fights happening, everything's got to work.
Sure.
So similar situation. Anyway, ended up just buying it on Showtime, but it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like a bunch of people bought this and just couldn't watch it. That's crazy.
Yeah. Bad user experience there, man.
Yeah, that's just I don't know what they're thinking. But yeah, everything's gonna work, right? And we've tested. I've tested it with a guy that I know who kind of is. I don't know. He does a lot of like. I don't want to say pro audio, but he used to do more live events, right?
Right.
Kind of the DSP for those types of events.
Sure.
And he's always doing DSP, right? So we're in this Discord group, and he's always doing this DSP on his system. He even has those Dutch and Dutch 8Cs. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Those are expensive, right? Like over 10 Gs or something like that. And he never seems to be like completely satisfied with how it sounds. I'm like, dang, they measure awesome. Like,
sure.
Anyway, he has this DIY project of these line arrays, right? Pretty much almost like floor to ceiling line arrays of these tiny speakers. And I'm like, you know what? Let me try Magic Beans on this and see if I can make that sound good.
Yeah.
Then we're on to something. Anyway, he ended up trying it out. We did the whole thing, and he just basically said, like, man, he seemed very happy with how it came out. And I'm like, if you're happy with this and you're never happy with anything, that means
that's good. You're on the right track. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, exciting stuff. Hopefully you guys sign up if you're interested in the Magic Beans. Yeah, this is your chance. You know, the more you guys sign up, the faster it'll probably get done, because then I'll feel pressure. Like, dang, I got so many people signed up. I better get this done. So yeah. That's it.
For sure.
What else? You know what? This is gonna lead into what you talked about right before the show. All right. So Chana and I have the spatial audio calibration toolkit, and one of the customers was saying, "Hey, you know what? I wasn't getting sound out of my height speaker, right? The top middle specifically.
Okay.
And the reason was that he had it set up as surround heights. Right? So for anybody with not the newest one, right? If you don't have the latest and greatest Denon or Marantz,
right?
You still have the old menu. Then if you have 6 height speakers, right? And it doesn't matter where you have them. If it's in ceiling, on wall, it doesn't matter. If you want those top middles to work, it has to be set up. You have to select top middle. Doesn't matter if you have on wall speakers or not.
Right.
Because I think what some people are doing is they say, hey, mine are on wall.
Right.
So I'm going to set them up as surround heights. Well, it just won't play anything out of those when you're playing Atmos. Right? Kind of crazy. But I got a message from somebody else saying that on their 6700H, that, let me get this right, that if you have all in-ceiling speakers, you can now use those for Oro 3D.
Yeah, one of my subscribers mentioned that to me as well.
I have to test it. And if it works, I'll make a quick, short about it.
Yeah. Do you have 6 in-ceilings?
I don't. I have on-wall speakers.
But I mean, you have 6 though?
I don't, but I can easily just put 2 more.
Hook them up just to see if they produce sound. I got you.
I mean, I actually have some that are in the right place for them.
Yeah.
But I usually switch between. I don't use them, right? I don't use that setup because I have center height and voice of God. So I kind of, I had to choose between the two.
Sure.
But I can easily try it. I actually have a spot for the rear surrounds and the side surrounds and everything. But do you have them? Which model do you have?
So I have a AV7706. I'm not even sure it'll support 6 Atmos speakers or 6 Oro or DTSX speakers, unless if you went down to like a 5 channel on the bed layer, because it's 11.2 channel AVR, or processor. But I don't think, I've never even looked in the menu to see if you can add, 6 overhead or 6 on wall or speakers. I'm not sure.
Bear with me here.
Billy said it won't.
So I know that the new ones.
Yeah, I think you'd have to have like a 13.2 channel AVR or processor.
Here, let me share this. So, did that come up? Oh, what happened? There it is.
There you
All
go.
right. So this is some of the updates, right? And it shows, on the firmware, if you type in like Denon or Marantz firmware, where is it here?
Top front, top
new
rear,
feature FY23. And this was interesting. So it says top front, top rear, top middle can be used for Oro 3D playback speakers. Therefore, you can enjoy, okay, blah, blah, blah. And it works on the
38,
X3800,
48. Yeah.
X4800, right? So these are the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
What, A1H?
A1H, yeah.
And then 6700H, I have that one, but that's from the
older.
older one.
Yeah, that's older.
That's what's interesting.
And
And then
the
8500 is also older, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then the AV, what is that? AV10?
Yeah.
Probably. So, yeah, that's kind of
yeah. I reviewed the 6400, but that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
pretty old.
So I don't know if how it'll sound, right? The fact that you can do it is cool,
right? Sure.
From my understanding, it's always been that you want the speaker to be further than your corresponding ear level speaker, but I haven't tried it, right? Sure. Maybe they've made some adjustments to how it works. I don't know, but it's cool that that's available. And
yeah, Wendell
the person who told me said that there's nothing available or no video available about how it works or not.
Yeah, Wendell said it played in my setup as surround heights. I have the Denon 3800H.
Oh, okay. Surround heights. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Has surround heights. I think the newer ones are different though because they just have a whole new menu interface.
Yeah.
And I think that they are just more flexible about, what you can use up there.
And that's great because, I mean, the reality is we all have different size rooms. We have different goals. Some people can only do 5 speakers on the bed layer, but they want to put 6 on the ceiling or 6 on the walls or 2 up front and then 2 in ceilings and 2 on the back wall. And so having that variety and that flexibility definitely is a good thing. Mark said he has the 6500. He can only run 10.1 Oro.
Okay. 65. All right. So anyway, just keep an eye out because they're not really doing a great job of announcing all these new features, right? Yeah. If you have an older 6700H like I do, I mean, old, it's not really that old.
Older, yeah.
But still, it's like, oh, cool.
Years.
New features, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all we have for that. Did you have something that somebody mentioned to you about preamp mode? Because these are things that I haven't confirmed yet, right? I haven't tried this.
Yeah. So over in the private chat, Roger Ayer said, "Hey guys, one correction about." So we had a podcast last night, and one of the questions came up about, can I turn off? Let's say, for instance, I thought the question, I misread it actually, kind of what he was asking, but he was saying, can I offload like my LCR to an amplifier? And what he was really asking is, can I get more power to the rest of the speakers? But what I thought he was saying is, if I offload that, can I disable the left, center, and right channels in the AVR? And so anyway, so we had a conversation after that. And he said, sorry, I only had so many characters I could type in the chat. But he said, hey guys, one correction about the preamp mode in the new Denon and Marantz models. The preamps no longer are all or nothing. He said, now each channel can be turned on or off individually. I didn't know that. So let me know in the chat if you guys have one of the newer Denon and Marantz. If you try to go into preamp mode, but just only on certain channels, do we now have that ability to be able to turn off, say, the front LCR because you've offloaded those to a 3-channel amplifier? Or maybe can you do a 5-channel amplifier and shut off those internally? So that's kind of interesting because internally you've got the same power supply. Again, I don't know the mechanics of how those are all connected to each channel, but I just found that kind of interesting. And the cool thing is, we're all learning like every day.
Well, back when our dude Paul was over there at Sound United, whenever a new AVR would come out, they'd make sure that we had some to test out. So we got a chance to test out these different things.
Yeah.
After he's been gone,
it's like crickets over there, man.
I never get anything. So
every once in a while I'll email them and I'll get a conversation started, and then it's like I get ghosted. So it's like, it's all good.
That's a terrible job. Hey,
it's different.
What not Sound United now? It's what is it? Massimo. Not good, guys.
Yeah.
You guys, it's not just for us. It's because we were trying to help you out.
Absolutely.
Right? We want to be able to provide answers. So now I have
we're guessing on some of this stuff.
I have to have other people tell me about some of the new features, and I'm gonna relay them back to the audience. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Parker, you mentioned you're running 3 channels separate. Yeah, on 3600H, you can run as many or as few as you want separate. I guess the question is can you go into preamp mode and only turn off internally in the AVR certain channels? So originally, when they first came out with the new lineup, this is before the Cinema series, they had a preamp mode, but if you go into that, it literally shuts off all of your amplifiers internally. And the idea behind that was to make that AVR more like a processor. So for example, the SR8015 that I reviewed, I actually did, I put that in preamp mode and compared that to I think it was the AV7705 at that time. So it was the one right before the one I've got now. But if you go into that, it disables all of the internal amplifiers. So I'm just curious if, Parker, if you have tried turning off just certain ones, if you have that ability.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If it works like you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, then you can have those different setups, right? Like I can have a setup for Atmos and then a separate one just for, Auro 3D, but that does require that certain things are turned off, right? Because the way it might work is that you might be using the same, whatever surround height, as a different speaker. So you might have preamp going to, set of speakers,
right?
With that same channel, or I guess same channel.
Yeah,
you might have connected directly into the amp, another set preamp,
so power,
and you need one to turn off because you can't have them both working, right?
Yeah.
That'll mess everything up.
You get some comb filtering and all kinds of.
That's no good. So yeah, that's where that comes in handy, is if you want to do 2 different setups using the same AVR.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll have to wait and see. How that works. Just trying to see what else, and we'll answer some questions in a second.
Yeah,
I have a few more things here. Preamp mode. What are they saying here? Anything?
So Marv is saying on the 6500, it doesn't have a preamp mode. If running all speakers with an external amplifiers, you can run eco on to reduce the power. So if you're offloading all of those, but again, I'm still wondering, can you do only some of those? I get that, we could do that. He said, I think it's in preamp mode on the, front 3. If I'm running into the crown, rest of the channels still come out of the AVR. Okay. Oh, front 3. Gotcha.
Yeah. So Dan Vaughn says, yes, Cinema 50 can run each channel as active or inactive amplification.
Okay. So it's the new series. Okay. Cool. Well, that's good. I mean, that's progress. Yeah. So maybe they heard from some consumers saying, hey, look, I don't want to turn off all of them. I mean, if I wanted to do that, I'd just buy a processor. But I've got a 5-channel amp, or I've got a 7-channel amp, but I've got 11 speakers. So I need to use some of them, but I don't need to use all of them. So that's cool. All right. Appreciate that, Dan.
See, we used to know the answers. Right?
Yeah.
If we have access, we have it in hand, we can test this stuff out.
Yep.
But if not, we kind of, what do they expect us to do? They want us to watch the seminar. Like we have to go and watch another video to make a video. Like, doesn't make sense. So yeah, we'd hope that these guys would send stuff out, but
it's all good.
It's all good. And I'm not really complaining. I have so much stuff. I have so much stuff to review. So
that is for sure, dude.
Yeah. I'm not even saying, even if they did, I might not even have the review out yet. So I'm just complaining to complain, I guess.
Nah, fun.
Here's a question. I'm reviewing a bunch of subs right now. All different size subs, right?
Okay.
I have a 10, a 12, a 15, another 10, another 12. What else? Oh,
is that the
and
first
then I have
15 you've had in your setup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if you like it.
I mean, when I was in high school, I had two 15s in the I had two 15s in the corner. Car audio 15, some kickers. Yeah. So here's what's interesting, right? In my living room, I'm testing them out there because because my theater's just set up. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to touch it, right? The sub is all set up, and to have to undo it. All my presets are set. Everything's good.
I get it.
And it's hard to move subs. Like those things are in the right place. I don't want to. It's not easy. Let's just put it that way. In my theater, it's not easy for me to take one of the subs out, put one of these huge other subs in, and then test it, right? And it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of weird because, of course, I'm used to having 3 subs. So it's not really fair for me to try one sub. It's not going to sound as good. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm setting them up in the living room. And there, I'm not playing it as loud as I play in the theater, right? It's just, for some reason, I just don't want to.
Right.
I don't need stuff shaking all crazy. And anyway, I ended up trying out one of the THX 8-inch woofers from Monolith. And it's similar in performance to that SVS 3000 micro, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That you got a bunch of, right?
Yeah. But I got 4 of them they sent me.
And so you weren't impressed because
it's okay.
They're 8s, right? They're tiny little subs, right?
And it's dual 8s actually.
Dual 8s. But still small, right?
Yeah. They don't dig super deep. Not a ton of output.
Yeah. So here's the thing that's interesting though, and it made me think, how much subwoofer is enough for the room? Because Chana just came out with a video today, and it again flipped the script. He was asking the audience, "What sub do you think I should get?"
Yeah.
Normally it's us telling people you should get this, right? So he's asking people, "What sub would you recommend?" And it got me thinking that it really depends on the room and your expectations, right? Because in that room, that SVS 3000 micro,
wouldn't do anything.
Well, in your room, you weren't happy with it, right?
Well, in his, I don't think it would either, because he's got the vaulted ceiling. He's got a pretty open floor plan. It drops down, so.
But you could imagine, having reviewed them, that in certain rooms, right, you're gonna be totally fine with those.
Absolutely,
right? Like completely, like, dude, I'm hearing great bass. I'm happy.
Yeah.
And in this living room, for some reason, I don't need the extra power from the bigger subs.
Right.
And so when people ask us, it's almost always like, we always tell them, like, get some big boy subs, right? And the truth is, we don't know, right? It's hard to make a recommendation unless we're in the room. We know, the dimensions. We know where the room modes are, and we have to know what you like, your expectation. How loud do you listen? What do you want?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just an interesting thing that it's so room dependent and person dependent as far as how much bass somebody might want.
Right.
So
go big or go home, though.
Yeah, for sure, always.
I mean, the reality is, some people, I mean, they're totally fine with like a 10-inch or 2 10s or a single 12. I just know in my own journey, even way before I had a dedicated theater room, I went from a 10-inch Velodyne to a 15-inch Velodyne, and I was like, holy cow, I like this a lot. And it wasn't a Mac Daddy subwoofer. It was just a bigger cabinet, bigger driver, bigger amplifier. And then I went from that to their kind of higher performance Velodyne subwoofer. Oh goodness, HGS 15s. I bought one. I liked it enough. I bought another one, and so it kind of went down this path of, I didn't want to go back down to a 12-inch. I didn't want to go down to a 10-inch. And then once I went to 18s, now it's like, I could still go back to 15s, but I don't want to. It's like, there's things that the 18s physically can do that the 18s can do that the 15s can't, so it's like, yeah, exactly. My friends like to break their floor tiles. Yeah, that's crazy though.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been tuning my car system, right? And in car audio, there's sound quality, and then there's like SPL competition, right? It's almost like total different ends of the spectrum, right?
Two worlds, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that somebody who's doing SPL, right, hitting whatever 160 dB or whatever they're doing in their cars now, right? It would be hard to make that a good SQ system
Mm-hmm.
at 160 dB because your ears would not like that.
Yeah. No.
160, like, oh, it's all, the bass is that high, but also the mids and treble are also that, like, be too much, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that I was tuning the system, right?
Mhm.
I added a few extra small subs that, just put under the seats,
Right.
extra little bass here. And I had it all balanced out, sound quality. I'm just hanging out with the family, just cruising, right? And I figured, look, while I'm testing this out, let me just turn up the bass like I would if I was, if I was in high school, like just as loud as the bass could possibly go.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, just as loud as it could go without distorting, right?
Right.
And dude, it sounds ridiculous, right? Like the mirrors are shaking, right? But it's almost like I don't mind it that much.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, even though I'm all about like the proper,
Sure.
but
It's still fun.
bass is forgivable. You know what I mean? Having a lot of bass, having that extra bass, like too much bass is almost like, I can live with it.
It still put a grin on you. Dan just said he bought some Stark Sound, the BOGOs. So apparently they were selling like buy one, get one free, which is pretty awesome. Hope they won't disappoint after hearing you talk about the 18s. Dual 15s is awesome, man. For most rooms, having a pair of 15s is phenomenal. I mean, I bought the PB16s. Loved those. Used them, I think it's about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And then I upgraded to the 18s, and they just took it to a whole new level. But that doesn't discredit what the 15s are capable of. The dual 15s was the first time that I ever had anything fall in my house. It was something in the adjacent room. I hear something kind of crashed. It wasn't anything big, but like a little figurine in my son's room. It fell off his like a shelf, basically. I'm like, oh dang, that's the first time that's ever happened. But so yeah, I think you'll like. Let us know, because I haven't heard any of the Stark subwoofers or speakers. So definitely let us know, Dan, once you get those set up. Love to hear about them.
Luckily, I've heard a good amount of subs, right? So I have some decent experience, right? And so I would say, this kind of leads to something else. And I was talking to somebody about what is considered full range, because they were saying, everybody says 20 hertz, right? Is the target. And that's what I've said also, right? Like the range of human hearing, generally 20 hertz is as low as you're going to hear, right? Some people, maybe they can't hear it. Some people, they can maybe hear 16, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But he was saying 30 hertz is what he found, right? And I would say, there's a lot of content music-wise that only really goes down to 30 hertz, but I listen to some hip-hop that it definitely has 20 hertz, right?
Yeah.
You won't know if it only goes down to 30, right?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, we were just saying what the difference is, right? So I can listen to some good bookshelf speakers that go down to 30 hertz that in room can play 20 hertz, like it's down maybe 10 or 12 dB, right?
Right.
So you get a little sense
taste,
of it, right?
You get a sample.
I hear something over there, right? And for bookshelf speakers, I think I'd be pretty happy with it, right?
Yeah.
If I had to, I'd be like, I could enjoy my music, right? I'm still hearing stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when you get from that 30 to 20, right?
Yeah.
That's the one, what I described as like, nobody has to be around, but when you hear it, you kind of like look to your left and right and you just kind of have to smile like,
this is nice.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And then below 20, that gets into the scary territory.
Yeah.
Like I don't hear anything, but I don't know why stuff is shaking. Like
stuff starts moving. Like when your door's physically doing some of this number, it's like,
yeah, that's a scary territory. Like I don't know what's happening over there.
What was that movie? The Conjuring. So imagine watching like the Conjuring and something, big bass and scary scene, and like the door starts shaking. You're like, oh snap, get me out of this room, man.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, that's kind of a good way to test to see if you need to bolt things down or blue tack things down. You play that sub 20 hertz frequencies. Yeah. You don't really hear too much.
Yeah. But
just stuff is moving.
You start feeling it more in your body, and like BB Photo says, it's a tactile experience for sure.
Yeah. So I assume that you like to be scared by your bass.
I don't like to be scared. I want it to be balanced. I mean, Jessica and I watched. Okay, so the other day she wanted to watch National Treasure. So that's an older movie, Nicolas Cage. They're looking for treasure, and there's kind of some puzzles they got to kind of figure out. But I'm thinking, man, we've seen that movie a bunch of times. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's a newer movie. It's not new, but it's a newer movie that I knew she hadn't seen. And I said, you want to watch Uncharted? And so that's kind of a modern day version of that. Deals with like, trying to find the gold, and they're having to figure out like where it is and how to get to it. And so we watched that, dude, and there was some stuff, low frequencies, lots throughout that whole movie, man. I mean, it's a great demo. Like lots of great demo for, subwoofer stuff. So if you guys haven't seen that, Uncharted is pretty phenomenal. It's you have to go into watching the movie knowing that it's stupid. It's almost like Fast and Furious kind of thing. It's really over the top, unbelievable, some of the stuff they do, but it's because it's based off the video game, and pretty much the scenes that they have in the movie are replicated from the Uncharted series. So it's meant to be unbelievable, if that makes sense. So, but it's a fun movie. So we watched that, but yeah, there was quite a bit of shaking going on in the room.
Not
that kind of shaking.
Okay, just a second. You know what I like about the bass that's below 30 hertz, right? And even below 20 hertz. Mm-hmm. When you hear that, the reason I like it, I don't know if I might be the only one, right? I might be weird, but you tell me, Michael. But I kind of feel like it's an inside joke. You know what I mean? Like you're hearing this bass, and that the guy watching TV doesn't have any idea that that's happening.
No,
right?
No.
Soundbar probably not going to hear that either, right? With those subs, and so you're just like you hear like, and you're like, only I know it. I know Michael hears that, right? But those other people, those other folks, they had no idea that happened.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that exclusivity. You know what I mean? Like
I'm trying to get more people. Yeah, I'm trying to get more people into it because when they tell me what they have and they're like, I look up the specs and their subwoofers rated down to 35 hertz. I just go, oh man, you were missing on so much fun, bro. So much fun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having subwoofers that only go down to 35, but it's kind of like taking part of your, like if you had a three-way speaker and you take the top end and at a certain frequency you just kind of chop it off. It's like you're missing that information, man. It's there. It wants you to hear it, but your system isn't capable of handling that. So
it's like the basics. I feel like the bass is just the groundwork for all the rest of the frequencies, right? You get the bass down, like the black levels, right? You got to have good black levels, right? Well, everything else can be good, but if you don't have those solid black levels, it's like you're missing out.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm missing out, by the way, on my projector setup. Need a JVC now.
There you go.
No, I don't need it.
Well, here's the cool thing is some of the older JVC projectors that you can get very, very affordable pricing still look phenomenal, man. I mean, really, really sharp.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with getting a used Youthman deal on some JVC.
So, you still liking those things? Because, you have some pretty nice, expensive stuff now. JVC projector. Yeah. I didn't know that your speakers that you set up were so expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, the JTRs aren't cheap at all. Yeah.
Whoa. 16 Gs or something like that? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's on up there. Yeah, they're about, I don't know what the current prices are because they've gone up quite a bit over the past probably like year, 2 years after the pandemic and everything, just like everybody else. But I think they're about 4,500 a piece now. Not the Atmos and the height channels, but like the LCRs, the subwoofers, they're on up there.
We've got a question here. We can start doing some Q&A here.
Yeah.
Where is it? Okay. Speaking of Tactile, I'm adding a butt kicker mini. Any suggestions for an amp? Yeah. Any suggestions?
So I haven't gotten into the the tactile transducers in my setup. So I don't have any experience with that. I know a lot of guys use pro audio amplifiers on them. They'll use like a Behringer, they'll use a Crown. And I think the biggest reason is you can get a lot of bang for your buck for those. You know, they don't have to be super high-end amplifiers. They just need sufficient power. And a lot of times you can get those for $200-300, $400.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
My wife's a mini butt kicker.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hilarious.
Yeah, because a lot of times people don't like those types of amps because they feel like, oh, they're not, I don't know, hi-fi enough for them, right? Yeah. But for a bass shaker, you're only playing what, 40 hertz and down, 50 hertz and down, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that it's not producing like the clearest highs doesn't matter. So yeah, I think
if you guys in the chat have some suggestions for him, like I said, I don't have any experience on my own. I've done a lot of home theater tours that have had them. Like I said, a lot of them are running some kind of, they normally don't use like a monolith or a pair sound for a butt kicker. They're usually using like pro audio amps. So
it's also,
Reverend Slim, he's got one. He says he uses a butt kicker LFE. So that's the bigger one, I believe, off a Crown XLS amp for a good while. Work great. High power, you can use a small 50 watt, but you really need the high power to move more tactile or to get more tactility. That's a good word. Tactility.
Yeah.
I like that. But pro amps are fine because you should be low pass crossover.
And you know what? It also depends on the transducer that you have, because they have some that are like this size and about this tall, right? And they have some that are like this tall and like this wide, right? Yeah. So the larger one's going to require more power, right? So yeah, it depends. If I were you, I'd just look at the RMS power. You know, it says a recommended amount, and find an amp that matches that matches.
Or get him a little bit more if you can. That way you got some headroom.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about like, you know, what kind of amp. Just make sure you feed it enough power and you're good to go. Sure. Class D is fine too. You don't need to get anything else. Just Class D. You know, speaking of which, I've never tried the Crowson.
Right. Yeah, those are expensive too.
So those are different in what way?
Crowson is the cream of the crop when it comes to tactile transducers. You have some, I'm trying to remember the brand, but there's a really inexpensive brand on like Parts Express. Then you get into butt kicker would be, you know, a couple $100 per unit. And then you get into Crowson and they're like in the like $1,200, you know. So as far, again, I have pretty limited experience. I have no personal experience in my own theater with the different ones, but I've been to some home theaters that have had Crowsons. I've had some that have had butt kickers. The biggest thing with any of them is getting them dialed in. I mean, because some of them, like literally the butt kicker, I think especially that LFE version that Reverend Slim has, that thing will rip your couch apart if you let it. I mean, like if you let it go wild, it'll seriously like mess up your setup. So anytime you have something like that, you've got all this power, you really need to make sure, number one, you dial it in as far as output, because if it's super high, it's going to be annoying. So you're watching a movie and your whole, you know, chair is just going nuts. It's going to pull you away from that. The last thing you want to do is have that happen. You want it to be part of just this cohesive, low frequency experience. And so when you dial that in as far as volume wise, but then the other thing is making sure that it's pretty much time aligned with your other subwoofers. Because the last thing you want is like your front, let's say you got two subwoofers up front and you're using a butt kicker in your seat. Well, if there's any delay there, let's say something happens, you know, you're watching Jurassic Park and a dinosaur is just walking slow and he stomps down. Well, you're going to feel it and hear it from your front subwoofers, but then maybe a fraction of a second, your butt kicker is going to go off. So then it's like, wait, that's not happening at the same time. So even time aligning those is
the worst is when it's early.
Yeah.
when it shakes and then you hear the sound, that's the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the hard part. I've seen people do stuff with like a cup of water. Is that what you've seen? They put like
I
some
haven't,
water,
yeah, I haven't
and
seen any
then
of
they
those.
film in slow-mo, and they kind of see when the thing actually hits versus when the water moves,
Yeah.
right? And then they try to align it that way. I'm like, all right, I guess that will work. That's the hard. It's really the hard part, though,
But it's
because
all, to me, it's all about calibration. I mean, when you do it right, it's phenomenal. I've heard, I like tactile transducers. I think I like near field subwoofers even better. Still not a big fan of the Boss, Hover Easy. Those aren't, I don't know. And everybody has their own opinions on those. Some people love those. The systems that I've demoed and the home theater tours that I've been through that had those, that just wasn't my cup of tea, because my brain always knew that the bass was coming from underneath me. Like, I always knew that. And that pulled me out of that experience. So
I know what you mean. Sometimes having those on, like even I have a bass shaker. This is one of the smaller ones that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I have that on, it actually makes a bass sound like there's less bass.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite of what you'd expect, right?
Yeah.
When I turn it off, it's like I can actually enjoy my bass more. Kind of weird.
I just remember the brand on Amazon. It's called Oro or Aro.
Oh yeah,
Aro
Aura.
Aura. So it's a pretty inexpensive. It's like the cheapest butt kicker you can get. Tactile
So
transducers,
those
but they're not that
Aura.
great either.
Funny story. I was talking to someone who used to work at that company at Aura, right?
Okay.
And I just mentioned real quick, I'm like, yeah, remember that one that used to strap to your chest? Right? Like,
Oh,
I really
funny.
had that.
Yeah.
Right? Or it was a backpack, right?
Yeah,
It's a
backpack.
backpack.
Yeah.
By that company. And it was made for like Sega Genesis and like video games.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be able
You
to
get
like feel
shot.
it.
You get like
Yeah.
It's cool.
And I actually had one of those. And anyway, he told me a whole story about that and how the Sega Genesis didn't even go down to like I don't know. I think it went down to something like 40, 50 hertz or something like that. Like, so they had to make it so that it would produce bass because it was actually not producing enough bass.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, Aura. Somebody here has an interesting question. Let's see. Yesterday I asked Youth Man about the Bic PL 300 subwoofer can go down to 15 hertz.
Yeah.
How much? 449?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
We can't all afford SVS.
Totally get it. Yeah.
Let's see. I have it up here. So this is the Bic.
Yeah.
Where's Megatron?
Yeah. My recommendation, I said, look for a used subwoofer. Because you can get so much. I don't know. And maybe it's just and maybe it's even subliminally too, like in a way it's similar to Klipsch's Cerametallic, just a different color. So they're using silver instead of like a copper color. So I don't think that's it, but
so 15 hertz. Okay.
I think what it was, okay, I know exactly what it was. So let's go to, you keep doing that. I'm gonna look up database. Database actually measured, measured that.
How many watts is this thing? So 350 watts. Okay, so 350 watts RMS, right? And it's a 12, and the enclosure looks pretty large, right? Well, large enough. If this is a 12, it's still not as large as that RSL that I'm reviewing, because that makes it's using a 12, but it looks tiny in the enclosure that they have. The enclosure is so huge compared to the driver, but I can imagine that this could do that, right? Looks like a decent driver. The only thing is 350 watts.
Yeah,
is just not as much as some of the competitors, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If you're to look at something from SVS or even Monolith, their app is probably going to be like in the 800 watt range, RMS.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a huge difference? I don't think it would be a huge difference, right? But when it comes to bass, what you don't want is you don't want it to make any bad noise, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to use this in a big room and you want to keep turning it up and all of a sudden it makes, some noise that you don't like, you're going to wish you had a little bit more power or a beefier driver, things like that. But like I was saying earlier, this could be more than enough. for your room. It just really depends.
Sure. And I think what Jonathan was looking at, and he may have an access to or have an account with Database. I was trying to look it up on their website, but what he was looking at, I think, if I remember correctly, is yes, they'll play down to whatever frequency, but it's down like 10, 20 dB. So, you know, it's
Well, this says plus or minus 3 dB with a plug-in center port and bass boost.
okay.
Okay. So even without unsealed center, so it looks like it could do 20-ish, right? They can push it down to 15 hertz.
Yeah.
The question is really how loud does it get?
Sure.
When it's playing that low. But I'm just happy that you can get a sub that can play that low at 449, right? Yeah. That's awesome. You know, these people who were saying we have our inside joke where, you know, we hear the bass that nobody else hears. I'm happy that you're able to hear it, you know. Whether it's going to be good enough for your room is going to really depend on the size of your room and your expectations.
Yeah. And see, like Reverend Slim said, he said, I bet good money that anything down near 15 hertz, that thing's going to run out of steam real quick.
Yeah, probably at 350 watts. Yeah. But I would rather have somebody get a couple of these than one really huge sub that's in a bad location.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, they're just in a huge null. You can't fix it. Right. So I would much rather have people buy a couple of these, and I think the price looks good. There are a few others in this price range, like that RSL that I was talking about. The Subwoofer 10S is smaller than this. I don't think it can go that deep, but yeah, this is a great price, $449, and if it can do anything even close to that, I think that's something to be excited about. Yeah, we should celebrate that sort of stuff.
I see, like if Rhythmic has anything like that, you know.
Like, what else is even close to this? 449, 20 hertz. Like, what can you get 449 and get down to 20 hertz at least?
$500.
And new. Because used, sure.
Yeah, sure. Man, their website is so trash. Is that a 12-inch?
Yeah. PL300. Just real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, these are about 770. But I just have a feeling like it would just spank that sub.
See, here's that 12S that I was talking about. This is, I think, $799. So that's significantly more, right?
Yeah.
But look at how small the 12 looks in this box. Look at that. It's a huge box.
Let me flip back over. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, this thing is pretty nuts.
So that's just where that was my advice. Like, you know, let's say, especially if you were to find, let's say, a Rhythmic sub that's used, so you can get it in the same price. I just think it's going to walk all over that big. So,
have you heard Rhythmic yourself?
I don't recall ever going to somebody's home and hearing one. But I think I'm at like 50, 60 home theater tours now. So I mean, I don't really recall any of them having that, but I know a lot of guys that have used them, and they love them. So, but I haven't reviewed any. Somebody mentioned the Stark one's $500, but I think you have to buy 2 of them, so you're gonna have to spend $1,000 and I think that was a comment last night as well. It's like you're gonna have to spend $1,000. So yes, you're getting them for $500 a piece, but you're also doubling your budget, so that may not work.
You know, I should reach out to that company. I should reach out to Bic and say, hey, send me that thing.
There you go.
I'll review it.
Do it, man, because then you can
measure. $449. I like inexpensive. We'll see.
Good price, yeah.
I think what my guess is what Reverend Slim said. It's gonna run out of steam. Right?
Yeah.
Either I don't know if it's gonna be the driver or the amplifier. Probably the amplifier. At 350 watts is just not a ton of power. And I think when you try to push it to those extremes, right? And of course, we're already at extremes, right? That's what we're talking about. When you're pushing it to extremes, 20 hertz, below 20 hertz, and you're trying to get a lot of output from that thing,
I
think it's going to run out of steam. Yeah.
Yeah. I
If they
guess
had
that.
a huge box, yeah, maybe they can make it work. But it's
Mhm.
not it doesn't look like a gigantic box. It looks like a
Yeah.
decent sized box. It looks like the proper size box for a 12.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I just haven't been impressed with like what I'm seeing from Bic over the years. So again, I don't have any
are you a
personal
Bic
experience.
hater? You're hating on
I'm a
Bic?
Bic hater, apparently, and a Emotiva processor hater.
Yeah, I know, right? Everything.
I get, I
I think
get.
the expectation from you is it has to be positive. You have to be positive with.
No, I mean,
That's what everybody
not
thinks.
everything's amazing. I guess here's the thing too. You have to go into it just knowing the limitations of it and having proper expectations. And if you're okay with that, then I think it might be great for you. But um, yeah, so it's same as Bic America from back in the day.
Um, so this is interesting. It says Eric was saying I was looking at SVS and monoprice for subs, but with the prices inflated, I think I will be going with Rel
Mhm.
Speedwoofer 12S at $799. It's a steel and goes down to 16 hertz plus or minus 3
Mhm.
dB. And I can confirm it's definitely
See,
hitting those.
Rel would be a much more reputable company. They've been in the business for a long
And
time. They make,
and just to
you
be
know.
clear, this is RSL, not Rel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he put
Yeah,
Rail.
he put Rel, but it's
Yeah.
RSL Speedwoofer.
RSL's been around for a long time too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Um,
Bob Voto says, I'm a bona fide Bic hater. I love it, dude.
please review the Bic for us.
There you go. That'd be cool, man. Yeah. Reach out to him.
Hey,
I'd be
I'm
curious.
always down for the underdog,
Yeah. Put it in
What else?
with your subwoofer collection you got going on.
I know. You know what I'm trying to just really find out is what's really enough for most people, right?
Mhm.
Because we just get spoiled,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like I can imagine that a lot of people are just gonna be happy to have some bass,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. $449 is a big difference between $449 and $799.
Mhm. It is. It's
For a
almost
lot of
double.
people, that's a big difference.
Yeah. Fred said Bic makes pins. Oh, wow. That was a good one, Fred. I like it.
1970 iconic budget brand.
Okay. They're an iconic budget brand. All right, Jamaica, I appreciate it.
You know what? I think I'm gonna have to
You got to
consult
get
with
it.
them.
Bro.
They just need
Get
some
it.
better marketing, man.
Yeah.
You can't be
Get it, man. Get two of them.
Bic Acoustic Elite Series
Bic.
PL300.
Look at their website.
Well, at $449, if it's doing anything close to what they're saying,
Oh yeah. Okay.
you should be happy.
I think this is it. All right. So go back to their website and just go to the products page and put it up.
I'm here.
I think this is where maybe the hater comes in. So you tell me.
Well, one thing I'm noticing, it says you will received one Bic acoustic. That's weird.
All right, so just click on are you on a different website than I am? I'm on Bic America.
Acoustic sound design. Oh, this is a different one. Maybe I'm on a different site.
They said it's the same company. Okay, so that's interesting. So that's Bic Acoustic. So maybe I'm thinking of this other
here. Oh, this is a company that sells.
Dude, tell me, what the heck are you looking at there?
AcousticSoundDesign.com. Let me see a different one.
Yeah, let's see. I'll share mine. There you go. I got it.
There you go.
All right. So you tell me. All right. What is this?
That's
Oh, it's the same one. Acoustic. Look at the logo at the bottom.
Yeah, that's
it's the same company. But you tell me, what does that look like?
Oh, you're saying because of the ceremetallic?
Yes, dude, that is a ripoff if I've ever seen one. So the first time I saw that a long time ago when I first got into home theater, somebody asked about them. I'm like, that sure looks like a clips, like an RSW 15, or RSW 10. So I was
probably hits lower though.
I guess. Yeah, they definitely they went down to 10 or 20 hertz and they were done. So not that they were amazing. I guess it always bothers me when a company takes somebody else's design and says, we're just going to copy that and see if we can kind of get some of that market share.
Let's see some of their other products though. Let's take a look.
What else?
What do they have there? Let's
see,
give Bic America some love. Megatron's not on. He's missing out.
Thing, dude. They got
dude. Yeah, those there's a
All
definitely
right, so there
a
are bookshelf
look.
speakers here. Floor stand. Let's see. Oh wow, those are some.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Somebody
I mean,
wanted the eviction series.
it's like I, I don't even know if they know who their target audience is or what their brand is. You know what I mean? Like true branding, because they got. I mean, how do you go
Yeah,
from a red subwoofer to a silver subwoofer to one that looks like clips?
because their tagline is probably annoying your neighbors.
Or
Just
borrowing from somebody else's design?
making your neighbors upset.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm sorry, Vic, if I'm hating on you, but
No, I'm
I
not.
just
I'm
think
not.
I
I'm
find
rooting
it
for. Where are
interesting.
they at?
It look
Irwindale.
it
Oh,
looks
they're in
very
California. I'm gonna hit them up. Is
yeah.
that? I'm gonna call them.
I think they
I should call
deserve
them right
to be
now.
contacted from Joe and Tell.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm. I hope it does what they
Yeah.
say it's supposed to
Oh,
do.
look at Luke's comment. He says, "Bic, boy, it's cheap."
Boy, it's cheap.
I like
What
it.
other questions we have here? You have any other questions?
Interesting. He said Bic and Clips got into a court,
Hmm?
believe for the color of their cones, and they had to change the color. Well, they're still on there, so I don't
Huh.
know. But yeah, I guess that was the big thing back when I first got into home theater. I do remember seeing Bic, and it just stuck with me. It's like, be original, man. Come up with your own kind of design and style and your brand, and instead of trying to take somebody else's. But the reality is, we see that in other manufacturers too. So
Somebody said I should call them live.
they call them live. See what they say.
Well, I don't even. Where was that website again? Big
All right,
Acoustics.
Bic acoustic, Bic subwoofer.
Okay, bigamerica.com.
All right.
Dang, Big America. All right. All right. Let's see.
You want to give them a call, Joe?
I'm not really set up to be giving calls, but there is a number here.
Yep, I see it.
8.
877.
This is a bad idea. This is a
Here-
very bad
here's
idea.
It's funny though.
This is a horrible idea.
This is a first for the Daily HiFi. I think it's hilarious. That's right, man. Ike, who's next on the Youth Man hater list?
This is a horrible idea. All right, I don't care.
Go ahead.
BIC America, the manufacturer of high-quality speakers and products for music and home theater systems.
High quality.
For sales and parts orders, press 1. For technical support and warranty service, press 2.
Huh?
You only got one or two, so it's
BIC
one.
America, the manufacturer of high-quality speakers and products for music and home theater systems. For sales and parts orders, press 1. For technical support and warranty service, press 2.
I'm gonna have to go with 1.
Yeah.
Am I able to hear? I can't watch.
We can hear you.
For better speakers. Gold sponsor at M-Wave. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's not good. They should answer. It just dropped the call. Oh,
That's because you.
I don't know, man. That's bad.
Yeah,
That would have been good if they would have answered though.
Yeah, if you can't get in touch with sales to buy something, man.
I know, right? I picked sales. It wasn't even the support one.
No answer, no voicemail. It's so sketchy. So, all right.
Huh? They had their
Well, at
chance.
least you tried. I commend you for trying live.
They had an opportunity. Yeah. They must be watching. I know. Maybe somebody's on here like, don't pick up. I don't know. I would give them a fair shake. You know, see what they could do. Anyway, any other questions here?
Angela said, "I can't watch." Oh, I love it.
Any questions?
I applaud you, man. That was good.
I want to answer
Vic
some
was
questions.
looking at the stream and not responding. They're like, we ain't picking up the phone call.
Mike and Joe get their PL200 and PL300. Jamaica Social.
he's got to be able to get in touch with them first. So
yeah, I'll try to see what's up.
Right.
I bet I'll get something from them sooner than I get, a Denon or Moran's product from Massimo.
That's probably true.
Or even a product from Emotiva. Those guys never send me anything.
Yeah.
I don't think they like me.
They wanted to send me the updated version of the UMC one.
I don't think they like
RMC
me
one. So, and I told them, I said, honestly, guys, I probably wouldn't mind checking it out, but I said, I've got to get past some of these reviews, man. I'm way behind. And
yeah, what do you got? What are some of the ones that you have upcoming that have been, on your to-do list?
some of them are way old.
Okay, let's hear it.
Really, oh no, it's terrible. People
Is
even ask me,
it like that? You feel bad already?
horrible.
All right.
So one is the Emotiva X. No, I'm sorry, the DR3 3-channel amplifier, 450 watts by 3. So I don't even know. No, it's 3. Yeah, by 3.
So Nick over there sent you those?
Yeah.
Ask him next time you talk to him. Say, hey, you don't like Joe or what? Because you never respond to his emails. You've never sent him anything. And if he says, nah, I don't like him, I'll be like, all right, that's cool. That's fair.
Yeah, I've got I still have the Travoce 15. I don't know why. Took it out. I've had it for a while.
That's old.
I know it. I'm telling you, man. It's like I'm behind on some stuff. I really, really am.
Oh man.
But I got some new definitive. I say new. They're probably old models, but Definitive Technology sent me 3 speakers, like a LCR. I've got a Denon 4800 that came with that system, so I'll be reviewing that. I've got some videos on Mad VR. I've got some videos on those headphones. I've got my desk I need to do.
Oh, those headphones. I bet that's going to come out next year.
I need to do my final review on the Klipsch McLarens. Gosh, what else?
Oh, that's a lot.
I've got to install this back here. Yeah, you can kind of see it right there.
Which one are you excited to do? Put you on the spot since I couldn't put Nick on the spot.
Like, what am I most excited?
Out of those, which one are you like? I
definitely want to get the Mad VR set up in my room. I mean, I've already got it working, so like tone mapping's there. But one of the big things that I want to dive into is what they call nonlinear stretch. So I have a 2.35 screen, and it'll fill up my screen no matter what content I throw at it. So if I have a 16:9, it does some zoom, some stretch, and it'll do it in real time, which is super, super cool. But I need to get that
for that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I just want to see, maybe even do some before and after kind of comparisons on things like highlight recovery. What does that even do?
Which one are you the least excited to do?
Probably the one that is the oldest, if you really think
the oldest
about
one.
It. Yeah, and I don't know. And part of it is, all right.
That's the Travoce, huh?
Honestly, the Emotiva beats that one. And here's the reason. And people ask me, they're like, "What happened? You didn't do the review?" And I think what it was I connected it in my living room, and I'll be honest, I didn't hear any different from my 2-channel amplifier. And I'm going, what do I say in the review? Other than this thing just is, it's a beast. It works. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not going to fluff something and say fruity pebbles about this thing. And it smells like roses, and I guess that's where, and so I may not do many amplifier reviews in the future because I feel like I'm having to make up stuff just to make a video.
It's hard. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have measurement equipment to say, okay, this thing measures 475 watts by 3 versus what they claim at 450, or it only measures 325. So I don't have measurement tools like that. So I guess it's more of a, what do I say? You know what I mean?
The way it looks. Is it heavy?
Right.
Is it light?
Yeah, I know.
What does the back look like? It's kind of like you just have to go over the features and maybe
it was, to me, it was easier to do the basic series because there's value there. It's like, man, these things are affordable. I've found, they easily powered my setup. I had a 3-channel. And so things like that, I think, made it easier. But
You know what I've been doing lately that might help you is just go to their website, and I'll look at the website, and they're gonna make claims like it does this, and then you just say, "Did you notice that or no?"
Yeah.
Is this okay? Like, okay, I
Yeah.
believe them. Whatever.
Right.
I'm just gonna go over the specs, and I'll tell you whether I notice those things or not, or if it's untrue, right? If it says that it does this and it doesn't, okay, well, that's something to talk about.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Apps are really tough.
That's hard for me. And so, like I said, I just think I've made a conscious decision. Like I'm not reaching out to amplifiers, like manufacturers I'm not dying to do that, because I can't even express subjectivity on that.
Actually, subs are not that easy to review either, because it's one of those things like so I do measure the subs, right?
You're right. Yeah.
And it's almost like it either hits 20 hertz or
Right.
it doesn't hit 20 hertz.
Right.
All right. If it does, all right, how low does it actually go? Oh, it goes down to 16. All right, cool. How loud can it play without distortion?
Yeah.
It's like it's all stuff that you can just measure, and it'll tell you what it's doing.
Yeah.
But then what? Like I'm not one of those guys that's gonna pretend like, oh, this is fast. It's the bass is tighter here.
Yeah.
It's just like if it's distorting, that's no good. I don't like it. It's playing clean, no chuffing. All right, cool. It's working. All right, now what? Like, now what? And then I can just read over the specs.
Yeah.
That's basically it. But subwoofers are tough too.
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of subs right now.
I see your comment of Evangeliste. He says, not sure why we have to only praise 1 or 2 subwoofer brands. There's a lot of subwoofer brands that are amazing. I mean, I can name probably 15 brands of subwoofers that I wouldn't have any problem recommending. Bic just doesn't end up on that list. There's tons of great manufacturers out there.
So Fred is saying some subwoofers sound faster, tighter with music.
I've
talked about this before, and the tough thing about this is 20 hertz is the amount of cycles that the driver moves.
Sure.
Right, per second.
Yep.
And 100 hertz is 100 cycles per second, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So
how do you change that?
Anytime it moves faster, if it moves faster, then it's no longer 100 hertz.
That is correct.
It's a higher frequency.
Yeah. I think that is and you can Google that. I mean, literally, like Google that, and you'll find people, they're starting to say, okay, look, that's been a myth that's been around forever.
The fast bass,
tighter, slower, sloppy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I really think that is, Fred. I think that has more to do with the time alignment of the subs to the main speakers. So remember we were talking about the bass shaker, how if it comes in too late, it doesn't seem right. Like the bass hit and now it's shaking. Like that doesn't make sense. They should hit at the same time. I think that's what happens with most subwoofers that aren't calibrated properly to the main speakers. So people say, it's slow bass. Like, yeah, it's just late bass. Nothing about it's slow or fast, right? So, I think that's a tough one. I heard sloppy bass though.
Yeah,
there's such thing as sloppy bass, but if you were to measure it, you'd be able to tell like, that's not good bass.
Yeah,
right. You just
see I'm not trying to put Fred on the spot, but like he says, some sound more textured. Like, what does that even mean? What is a textured bass?
Okay, so I think my job as a reviewer is to kind of translate,
right?
Translate what I'm measuring, what I'm hearing, and the words that lots of people use. So texture actually makes sense from the standpoint of a flat response, right? So if you have a sub that's only doing 30 hertz and it's a huge peak, well, that's not going to be very textured because it's a one note wonder, right? When they say that. Textured would mean if your bass is flat and you're able to hear all of the frequencies, then you can hear the difference between that 80 hertz tone and that 45 hertz tone and then that 20 hertz tone, right? You hear all the subtleties because they're all equal in volume, so you're able to perceive it. So to me, that's what texture is about. You can hear those differences. So, but that has more to do with the fact that it's actually a flatter response, not a peaky
Right.
peaky design.
Yeah,
So that's that's what I found.
Interesting. Okay.
What else? What else? Aaron, what's up, Aaron? He says he's at the beach. Nude beach. I don't know. Are you a hater of any particular brand when it comes to subwoofers? Is that like they're kind of insinuating? Is they're just like, oh, I don't like this brand because of whatever reason? Or do you favor some brands? How about that?
For subwoofers, yeah.
Yep.
And I guess where I've heard some larger subwoofers, and especially ones that dig really deep, like with serious authority, and it's just really hard to get that in a lot of subwoofers. Unfortunately, those subwoofers get very expensive. You got subwoofers like Harbottle that'll do single digits. You got JTR.
Yeah, I just don't like that name. I'm biased. Digits. I just don't like the name Harbottle.
Yeah, it's different. You've got PSA, Power Sound Audio, makes fantastic subwoofers.
Public service announcement. No, I don't like the name either.
Yeah,
I'm already off. I'm gonna be the hater. Fresh hater, Jay.
Yeah.
PSA. Nah.
Yeah. Tom's a great dude. Real nice guy.
See, Aaron said JL Audio. I like JL Audio because I just like JL.
Yeah.
I like the way that the logo looks.
In the back of the day, dude. Yeah.
I used to have JL, so I'm a JL fan. And actually, you know what?
All of the IASCA competitions, man.
Their subs do look cool though.
Yeah.
The way everything looks, it's like they have good design. And you know what? I know you like your JTR subs, right?
100%.
And you're friends with Jeff over there, right?
Sure. Yeah. No.
I don't like the way that they look too much though. Like from a design perspective, if they weren't behind the screen, it's not something I would really want to look at.
And most people won't, but most of his products are used in like dedicated theater rooms. They're used in AT screens.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Like the lights go out, nobody cares what they look like.
Yeah.
He is 100% about performance because anything he puts in design, as far as like cool cabinetry and the app, all that's going to do is drive up the price.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a ton of markup on his. It's not like, he's selling a $4,500 subwoofer and, his cost is $1,200.
Yeah.
That's not the case at all. In his towers, the tweeter alone, like the coaxial driver. I went up there and we did a tour and he told me, he said, Michael, my cost for just the coaxial driver. So we're talking a mid-range and a tweeter and a coaxial design. At that time, it was $900 for one driver.
Wow.
And I love clips. I enjoy clips. But I can promise you, my RF-7.3s in the living room, they don't have $900 in the entire speaker.
Yeah.
We're talking wood, crossover, tweeter, two, 10-inch drivers.
Yeah. You know what? I wish that more reviewers would be more honest about their own personal biases, right? I don't know if they're not being honest or if they're just not aware of them. I'm not sure, right?
Yeah.
Like I try to be very aware of what I like and I don't like.
Sure.
And I let people know.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a human, you know what I mean? I'm just a normal dude. Happens to review speakers, right? So like I'll go over it like this. JL I like because I used to have JL W6s, right?
Right. Yeah.
So automatically I like their stuff. I like the way it looks. I like their logo, everything, What else? Bic I like just because they're the underdog, right? I've never even heard of them.
Right.
I've never heard them, but because it's cheap, I remember not being able to afford anything, and I wish that I could buy something that would perform well.
Sure.
And I'm almost hoping like, you know what, this outperforms its price category. I like kind of like what Monolith did, right? That's why I like Monolith so much because. Are we still talking about subwoofers? Yeah. No. Actually, Ty, you know what we're talking about? We're not talking about just subwoofers.
Yeah.
We're talking about personal biases for reviewers.
Like I've used and enjoyed the sound of clips for decades. So when I was a teenager, I would go to Sound Advice and I would listen to Bowers and Wilkins. I would go to the next room. There was clips, and I'm like, man, I like that sound. I like that in your face. I like the horn design. I like what it brings to the table. And so it goes back to, I had Polk Audio speakers that I bought when I was working at Circuit City. And one day I ended up upgrading, or I ended up seeing an ad on Craigslist. A lady had 2 clip speakers and she had a Velodyne sub, and it was a 15-inch sub. I had a Velodyne 10-inch and it was $250 for all 3 speakers. In my brain, I thought, well, the subwoofer alone, I mean, I could get $250 maybe for the pair of speakers. So I was going to buy the 3, sell the clip speakers, keep the subwoofer, sell my subwoofer, and I come out making money on the thing. I'm like, dude, that's where the whole Youth Man deal kind of started. That was like my first Youth Man deal. And so I get these speakers and I hook them up just to see what they sounded like. And I was listening to a Jeremy Camp song, and there's a part in the song that I heard a weird, like almost like static. And I went, that doesn't sound good. And I backed it up, and I thought my speaker was having issues. And what I found out, Joe, is I heard something. It was his finger moving across the fret of the guitar. And I had heard that song probably hundreds of times. Never once heard it in my Polks, not once. And I went, I'm hearing details that I have never heard. And so, yeah, there's a personal bias there because I like hearing the detail. I don't like hearing a veiled or what I consider a laid back kind of speaker. I like a more forward sounding speaker. So that is a bias. And I think that's why I like JTR so much. It's a horn design. It's got a lot of the same characteristics that I like from clips. It's got clarity, it's got detail, it's got dynamics. It just takes it to a whole new level. So, but yeah, I think you're right. I think we all have our biases. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And I wish more people would just be honest, you know what I mean? About what they are and just be upfront, because it's fine. You know, I actually wonder if people just want an only objective review, or if they do care what my opinion is, right? Because if I just wanted to do objective, well, I'll just show you the measurements. And then that's it. I'm done. You decide what those measurements mean. I don't even need to show my face, right? Here's the measurements. Here they are on the website. Done, right? Or do people really care about what I have to think about, you know, about speakers? Okay, so here. Mark Wilson says, Rel, go. All right. What I think, I've never reviewed a Rel myself, but I just don't like the marketing of it from the standpoint that they're anti-DSP, because I'm all about DSP, right? I think DSP is going to make the sub sound awesome. And, you know, we made Chana's Rel sound better with DSP, right? But, you know, I've said it before. I think that it makes sense for somebody with 2-channel to, you know, to use their speakers because it doesn't have DSP. So it's not slow. It's not delayed because there's no DSP, which is what causes the delay. But I don't like, to me, that's misleading. Come on. I don't like that type of marketing. You know, just say, hey, we don't use DSP. That's why it's good for 2-channel. If you want to use ours with DSP, it's probably going to give you a better response for home theater, and you can use it for that. Just say that. That's the truth. You know, so I don't like that. You know, I don't like that. I don't care if the owner was on, I would say the same exact thing. That's what it is. So what else? We like to, okay, yeah, I'm just a hobby guy. You know what I mean? I'm just into this because I'm into it. So let's say SVS, right? SVS, honest assessment of SVS is they're very consistent, right? Just like it's not the cheapest, right? It's not the most expensive. They're right in the middle, but everybody they're excellent at marketing, right?
Sure.
And they back it up though. You know, when you have a problem, you call them. They do all the stuff that they say they're gonna do. So it might not be the best in any extreme way. Not the cheapest, not the best, but right down the middle. It's an easy recommendation. That's it. And the guys are cool dudes, right? They're all good dudes over there, and I get along with all of them. And they've always supported me, so that's important to me. You know, when I ask for a product, hey, for sure, here you go. You know. So
all right, Aaron has a question for us.
All right, let's see.
He says, Joe, what's a brand you found yourself? Well, you know, what you found yourself disappointed in for whatever reason, and same for me. I mean, I know which one. I know what mine is. But y'all know what mine is too.
Um,
I
well,
was
you know,
hopeful,
so
but it
so
just didn't work
OSD
out.
used to be my channel sponsor, right?
Right. Yeah.
And anytime somebody says, "Oh, because it's not fair if they're your sponsor," look at any of those reviews. Were any of them overly positive? Look at my speaker leaderboard. Are they on the top? Nah, they're kind of like in the middle or towards the bottom, right? So that's disappointing to me because I wanted them to be great, right?
Sure.
I would call the owner like, dude, this is what you need to do to make them better. I wanted them to be awesome, right? So that's disappointing, right?
Yeah.
How about you?
Like I said, you know where I'm going. It's Emotiva. You know.
Oh, okay. So maybe I don't want them to send me anything.
I love their I love their amplifiers. I think their amplifiers is where that's their market. That's where they started their business. And then they got into, processors. I bought their first processor. I think it was their first processor. It was the UMC1. So this was back at least 10 years ago. And that was my first processor. And I think at the time it was $500, cheapest processor out there. We were like, whoa, this is great, man. I can get a dedicated preamp processor, $500. That's amazing. And I just had a lot of bugs. I mean, it was like bad. They had EmoQ software back then. That was their room EQ. It was terrible, like really, really bad. And I just didn't like it. So I sold that, went back to, I think just a regular receiver and loved that. And then later on, I got into content creation, making reviews and product reviews, and ended up getting the RMC1 and kind of was the same MO. I just had a bunch of like issues with it. And I mean, when you turn it on, or when I turned it on, and I don't want to speak for every content creator, because there were other people that got the same unit, RMC1, and they didn't have some of the issues that I had. And so could I've gotten a bad one? Possibly. But I let Emotiva know. I'm like, hey, look, I'm having these issues. We got on the phone with their their main tech guy or lead guy, maybe engineer, I'm not sure. And he walked me. We spent probably 30 minutes troubleshooting. He's like, well, let's just go back to factory default. So we did a factory reset. Everything seemed to work fine. I'm like, cool, man, that's great. If it was just because it's software, okay, could have got glitchy. So we went back to factory. Everything was good. And then probably a week later, I get a call. I'm somewhere in Brandon, and my daughter's like, hey, Dad, what's up with the theater? We're in here, and I forget. I think she could see the picture, but she couldn't hear any sound. And I'm like, oh God. And so about a third of the time, 1 out of like 3 or 4 times, I would turn the system on, it would do that. And the only way I could fix it is I'd have to shut it down and physically unplug it and just let it totally drain, then plug it back in. And you just shouldn't. And at that time, it was was it 6,000 or 4,000?
So bad experience. So you kind of had a bad experience with them.
I'm just like, this is like 2 strikes. Yeah. But, Reverend Slim says the XPA 3 Gen 1, it's still going strong. Absolutely, man. Their basic series, I'm a fan of those. I mean, they're just inexpensive to be able to get into that. So I think there's a lot that they're doing. I've heard their speakers a long time ago when they first came out with them. Wasn't a big fan of those. But again, that's a different sound than what I like, which is, at the time I had clips. So, man, they're hammering you all these brands. They want to hear your
I'm good with it. So keep it coming. So Kef, all right. So Kef, my first experience with them is the KC62, that little tiny subwoofer. If you thought that the SVS 3000 micro was small, this is even smaller.
That small. Yeah,
it's like a little football.
6.5 or something.
Yeah, a little 6.5s, right? Yeah. Dual opposing. And they were claiming something ridiculous, like 12 hertz or 11 hertz, right? Okay, so I was already like, And then they were also claiming high SPL.
Yeah.
And I knew what that meant. It meant that it could do 11 or 12 hertz at super low volume, and it could get high SPL at a much higher frequency. But to me, that was misleading, right? I didn't like that, right?
Sure.
So when I actually got that sub for review, and I was already annoyed by that.
Yeah. So you were biased, Joe.
Yeah, I was biased going into it. Yeah. I was biased because I didn't, I'm biased by their marketing, right?
Right. Yeah.
And how their marketing makes me feel.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. but I still measured it. And what ended up happening is like, of course, it was like I said, it can play low frequencies at low volume, but it moves dynamically, right? What I was surprised was that because it was so small, so well built, you couldn't help but kind of like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, dang, this thing is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's so tiny.
Yeah.
The fact that little thing makes the super low frequencies, and it actually did at low volume.
Yeah.
That I was like, I can't hate it. They followed through on what they said it could do, right?
Yeah.
It was just that what they said was a little bit misleading, right? But that's still to me, Kef is just a great engineering brand and really good at marketing.
Yeah.
Good marketing, good photos.
Really, really beautiful.
And legit engineering chops.
Sure.
Yeah. Cambridge, dude. I don't know about Cambridge. You know what I think about Cambridge? When I hear Cambridge, I think about little tiny
computer speakers.
Yeah,
like computer
speakers that I see in the magazine.
Yep.
And it says like
Cambridge
like, oh, they kind of look like Bose speakers.
Yep. I remember those. That's what I think of too. But they have like nicer, higher end stuff now.
Yeah. So that's what I think about. I have no experience with Cambridge. Aaron's Audio Corner Sonos. What? He asking Aaron? Cambridge Soundworks, yeah. I actually wouldn't mind. I was curious about those. I just couldn't afford anything back then.
Dude, here you go, Joe.
Let me think. Let me think. Oh, a Rendell.
Man.
What is this?
That's your Cambridge.
Are those it? Look at that little sub right there, though.
Look at that big old power supply on that Joker, man.
Look at the little sub. Look at the 3.5 millimeter jack.
That's cute, man.
Oh, look at that power brick.
That was huge, man. But yeah, that's what, when you mentioned Cambridge, that was the first thing that I thought of.
Oh, we'll go fast. Let's just go fast. A Rendell. I'm a fan of Dan Romer, and I love my Monolith Encore. So a Rendell gets it's automatically like I'm liking it, and I like the way it looks, and I like the direct model because it keeps the prices down.
Yeah.
What about you? A Rendell.
I like their. I reviewed one of their subwoofers, and I was really impressed because I'd never heard of Rendell, so I had no preconceived ideas. I didn't know what to expect, and I'm like, dang, this is pretty tight, man. I mean, it measures well. It sounds good. A lot of output. Looks gorgeous. I mean, it's a really nice looking unit. I like their MTM speakers. So
Creative Sound Blaster. That's what I think about.
Wow.
Creative Sound Blaster.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sound cards. That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
Polk, Bright. I just think of Bright speakers, and they have to compete with Klipsch, but they can't do a horn, right? They're both right there at Best Buy, and they're both like just competing for your attention. So they're like, let's just make it Bright. That's my initial impression.
I did like their Reserve series though.
The Reserve, the Reserve was not like that though. That's what's funny. It's like, you go in with a certain mindset, and then because my old Polk that I've had, they were exactly like I said. Yeah. And then the Reserve comes out, you're like, oh, that's not that bright.
Yeah. But see what's weird though, we say that. I had the Polk RT800s. They were floor standing speaker, the CS300, which was a big center channel, 6.5-inch drivers. And the Klipsch speakers I think they were brighter than that. I mean, they definitely had way more detail, but I like that. So.
Oh, Angela and Christian say Logitech.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? My first gift to Angela were some Logitech 2.1 speakers, and those things kind of did their thing. Yeah. They had a little 6.5-inch subwoofer for the computer, and they weren't terrible. And I think they had a THX system that was pretty decent also. But they're computer speakers, you know what I mean?
Sure.
What else?
Bose 901. I never actually heard those. I've heard that that's some of the better speakers that Bose ever made.
The 901s, I guess they're very different.
I don't think I ever heard them though. And then somebody asked JBL. I think I've only heard one or two. So Jonathan up in Kansas City, he's got a complete JBL, and he has line arrays. Dude, it sounds phenomenal. I mean, he's got a really, really nice system. Definitely the most immersive system I've ever heard. You
Mhm.
walk in his room, no matter where you move in his room, you're just enveloped with sound because it's all identical. His height speakers, his front LCR, his surround back, side surrounds, they're all the same line array. And with
Oh
the
yeah.
line arrays, man, he's got 100 and did you say 180, 160 degree coverage on each speaker. So imagine that. There's no holes in his room. It's insane. So
I
no,
kinda
I
like
like
this game. Okay, B and W. Let's just do rapid fire. So B and W. All right. So
beautiful, stylish design. Their subwoofer, I heard their oh gosh, what were they? The 212s. Wasn't that impressed, man. And they are expensive, dude. So you pay a whole lot of money for them.
these guys, we're gonna get in trouble, man.
Yeah.
I don't care.
They
Let's go.
can be
So,
bright. Clips
so
Pro Media.
B&W, Bowers and Wilkins. Here's what I think. Right, they had a history of really exotic looking speakers.
Yeah,
I've heard some B&Ws back in the day that were like they sounded a little bit magical. They had a little magic to them, but that's because I didn't know anything, so I don't know. I just knew that they were expensive, and that kind of impressed me already. But I have heard like the 803s, 801, you know, all those series, and they're cool. Too expensive.
Yeah.
And I think that looking back, I think the magic trick was they're super bright, but like at a certain frequency, you know, like super bright, but like at the highest frequencies, like not in the annoying section, but at the super high end. So it makes you think like, dang, I'm hearing stuff that I don't hear in my other speakers. Yeah, because they're super boosted at like those higher frequencies. So I think that was the magic.
This is pretty hilarious, man. Like everybody's just throwing it. Minash says Clips Pro Medias. So I've gone through probably 4 sets of Pro Medias over the years. Their amplifier's terrible because they don't have any way of dissipating that heat. And so they just eventually fry. And of course, I was always buying them for like $20 used. So I wouldn't ever pony up for the brand new one. So I'm already buying something that's old. The amplifier is kind of on its way out, and I'm just wearing it out.
All right. So JTR, I'm going to have to say something because I know that Michael's going to balance it out.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So JTR to me, big old speakers for people who want like speakers that are made for like actual theaters, but they're crazy enough to put them in like their actual home theaters. Like huge and not very great looking.
Yeah. 100%.
That's these. And by the way, just for anybody tuning in, these are like snap judgments.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Yeah.
This is not a review. This is not. No. Yeah. My mind could change like this.
Sure.
The moment if I got some JTRs, I'm like, oh, dude, these are the best. I don't.
I'd love for you to hear your system, JTR system. They're pretty phenomenal. There was Martin Logan's. So I reviewed the Martin Logan 60 XTIs with the matching center, matching surrounds. Still to this day, one of the most fun speakers that I've reviewed. They look gorgeous. The finish on those were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Well, so you didn't do JTR. What's your quick take on JTR?
You know what I'm thinking on JTR. I own JTR. I mean, like literally, there's.
What's your bias though towards them? That you own them.
The bias. So I mean, the short version is I reviewed a pair and I'm like, holy crap, these do way more than what my PB16s do. My PB16s, when you do Edge of Tomorrow at the beginning, they lose control. They really do at high volume. Because I guess it's hitting below the tuning port.
Oh, okay. The tuning frequency. So it needs some bad noises.
Like so once it does that, it loses control and it doesn't sound good. So that was one thing. So now I've got sealed. I'm hitting flat down to 5 hertz. PB16s can't do that at all. So I'm experiencing something totally.
But you're talking different. Facts right now. I'm just talking. I want to just straight up pure like.
So they're heavy. Facts. They're not beautiful. They're not meant to be.
Purely subjective.
Yeah. They're not going to fit in most people's homes. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, they're not going in most people's living rooms.
And is okay. And 100%. Jeff's. Would you consider Jeff your friend?
Yeah, I mean, I consider Nick my friend, Jill from Clips my friend.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Paul, when we were hanging out, Paul from Sound United, he was my friend.
See, this is what reviewers should do.
ELAC,
right? So ELAC. All right, ELAC. I'll tell you straight up. ELAC. One of their guys, Chris over there.
Chris Walker. Yeah.
Chris Walker. like
super cool
we're
dude.
cool. I'm cool with Chris Walker. Like he
Yeah.
comes over, right, and drops off the stuff,
Yeah.
and like we talk about all kinds of other stuff aside from speakers, right? So that's my bias is like, I like Chris Walker. Like him and I are cool, right?
Yeah.
But I still tell him like, hey, I don't like this and that.
Mhm.
So I can be real honest with him.
That's okay.
You know, and we don't always agree about, what I think about the speakers and stuff like that.
What are your
But I
thoughts on
think
Sonus Faber?
so real quick, ELAC used to be my favorite, right? When Andrew Jones was there.
Mhm.
But I feel like Andrew Jones is not there anymore. So
You
it's
think
like
you're biased towards Andrew though?
I think that I was fanboying over Andrew Jones
That's
when
what
I
I'm
first
saying.
got
You're
into this.
biased towards him. Yeah.
I was totally like fanboying, like, because everybody's like Andrew Jones, and like I interviewed him. I'm like, oh, Andrew Jones, right? And yeah, he makes legit speakers,
Yeah.
But towards the end, I kind of like didn't like some of the speakers that they were making, like at the end, like they made the UB5 and the original debuts because they were really low cost, right?
Yeah.
But great performance for the price. And then they started getting more expensive. I'm like, you lost it. You lost it. So I'm cool with them because I like Chris Walker.
Mhm.
And anytime they ask me to do something, I'm like, all right, well, let's just
Check
do it.
it out. Sure.
I can be honest.
Yeah.
Who else? That looks stupid.
Sonus Faber.
Okay. Martin Logan. I don't know. Have enough experience with him.
Mhm. And Martin Logan so Martin Logan makes some different types of speakers too. I mean, you got your electrostats, which sound way different than like the 60 XTIs that I reviewed. So
I'm not feeling. So this is not objective. Kind of subjective.
Mhm.
It's just that when I saw Aaron's review of some of their in-wall speakers, the Martin Logan ones, it kind of turned me off to them because they were measured so poorly. I don't think a company that I feel like if I were them, I wouldn't allow that speaker to be out there. They just say, no, that's too bad. Like go back to the drawing board, fix those, whatever. I can't. I can't have this out there. So I'm not really feeling that too much. And I think that they're just pushed a lot. A lot of people push them because they're kind of high-end-ish, right? They can get expensive.
And then, some of them are.
But they're also at Best Buy at Magnolia.
Right.
So yeah, Sonus Faber, I think, is it's just super Italian. Super Italian. Cool. Like they look awesome.
I reviewed a pair, dude. I'll be honest, man. I enjoyed them. I wanted to keep them so bad. Oh,
I think they look awesome. They do look like that boat, that whole boat thing, right? But I almost feel like they're so expensive that I almost want them to measure bad. Like I want the performance to be bad so I could be like, yeah, they're just expensive. Like I would be more annoyed if they measured really well and they looked really cool. I'm like, oh man, now I want those. Like I want to not want them, right? Sure. Because they look awesome, they're expensive, and then if measured bad, like see, they're garbage. Right. Yeah. But you're saying that they sounded good.
I enjoyed them. I really did. But at 12 grand, I'm like, I couldn't justify it. So they went back to France.
Sony. No.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't have any experience with their new AVRs. I'm going based on my experience with, let's just call it the old Sonys, and they were never good. When I worked at Circuit City, they were the entry level AVRs. They didn't have a lot of power. They didn't have a big power supply. Harman Kardon spanked their butts all day long. Onkyo spanked their butts all day long. So they were at the low end of the totem pole. Now, are they making a comeback with these newer AVRs? Possibly. I just haven't reviewed any. And so talking about bias, I have a bias based on my old experiences from this company. So
same for me. Sony, to me, hit or miss, right? This is a company that's so huge that they could come out with like these weird looking explode speakers. Like what's that shape about?
They did.
What's the point of that, right? And they didn't perform. But then they have their projector that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Their TVs are awesome.
Sure. TVs are beautiful.
I shouldn't say the projector is awesome, but it's like up there. Right?
It's very nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good projectors. Sure.
Because like JVC will beat them out, but I'm not going to buy anything else from JVC. I'm not buying JVC anything else. Right?
Yeah. The JVC little, what did they make? The CD players. They used to make electronics and stuff.
you know. So it's just like hit or miss, right? AVRs, I'm like, I don't know. TVs, OLEDs, yes, all
Oh,
day, right?
I love the comment.
You
That's
know,
funny.
cameras. I own some Sony cameras. I love their
Yeah.
cameras.
Yeah.
So
Sony
it's just
makes great
weird.
cameras.
They're like
Yeah.
hit and miss.
Yeah. But think about this though, Joe. Why is it? And I think when we look at companies that try to be all things to all people, I
Mhm.
think that's when they end up losing out.
Mhm.
Instead of focusing on what they're really, really, really good at and
Yeah.
just staying like I'm looking at Parasound. Parasound kind of like they have not wavered from their lane. I mean,
Yeah.
technically they do more than amplifiers, but their bread and butter, man, their focus, their heartbeat, it's like that's what they're known for. And they are rock stinking solid. They'll last you for decades. They look gorgeous. They're beautiful. They measure well. But I think companies, when they try to do this and this and this, oh, we can do this and also dabble in this, you can't be great at all of those things. And I
Yeah.
think Sony is an example of that.
I think they're actually very smart when it comes to like targeting the beginner, though, right? So they price
Sure.
those
Yeah.
Sony
Oh, there's
AVRs. They're really low priced, and so somebody's gonna be like,
$350.
Sony, I want it to match my TV. You know, it's a Sony. You know, I
Yep.
guess that's good, right?
Yep.
So Reverend says, I have a bias against Oro, but I still like talking to. Yeah, exactly. See, it's just bias.
Yeah, sure.
He just has bias.
Yeah.
Wharfdale, I think Wharfdale. I've reviewed a lot of Wharfdale, and I've liked pretty much everything that they've done. And I think their guy Peter Comio, I don't know how to say his name. I felt like was like their version of Andrew Jones was the way I thought of it.
Look at Reverend Slim's comment. He said Harman Kardon spanked Sony. Oh no, I'm sorry. There was somebody else that mentioned it. SC Audio. He said I turned my volume back on right when he said spank their butts, and my wife's reaction was priceless. That's hilarious.
Wilson Audio, expensive.
Yeah,
expensive. For sure. And they're I'm sure they're probably good because they use some like good stuff, but it's like I don't know. I've heard some. They all sounded pretty good, but too expensive.
Yeah.
PS Audio. That's Paul McGowan, right? He's like a Sony for me. You know what I mean? To me, it's just like sometimes he says stuff that makes sense, and sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, dude? So it's like it's one of those things like you have to pick and choose. Like for him, for his videos, so PS Audio is a company, right? And to me, you can't separate PS Audio with Paul McGowan, right? I see the videos come up, and I already know which ones I'm gonna like and not like, right? Like I don't even have to watch them, but if it's gonna be about, let's say, I don't know, something to do specifically with like their area of expertise, like amplifiers and 2-channel, I'm probably gonna agree with what he has to say, right? But if he starts to talk about home theater and DSP and home, like stuff like that, I'm like, probably not gonna agree. If he starts talking about subwoofers, probably not gonna be on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. And I think he knows he's doing a great job with his marketing. Anybody else? Focal
makes some gorgeous speakers. I don't know if I've ever fallen in love with their like the sound yet, and I've heard several of them. We're gonna have them at M-Wave, so I'm curious to see like if they're gonna do a home theater setup. But they make gorgeous speakers.
Yeah. Last one. I'm gonna have to end it with this one. Let's go with
Sherwin Vega.
All right, I'll just do real quick. A quick Sherwin Vega from the 90s.
They're gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people are like, man, get some of their stuff in. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Strokers were awesome back in the day. Sherwin Vega Strokers.
Big bass. Per listen.
Per listen is like the big daddy of the, of Dan Romer's stuff. So if I like his Monolith Encore, that's the least expensive. I want a little more expensive. You go Arendelle, and if you want like the best he can possibly do, per listen.
Yeah, I agree.
But too expensive for me.
Yeah, sure.
Unless they want me to review some, I'm down. Sure. NAD,
it's okay.
Always like a good value. Always very good value. Just still kind of a small company though, you know. What else? I think that's it. Paradigm. Canadian. Is that it? They're Canadian, right? And from what I've seen, actually, is like some of them measure a little bit brighter than you expect.
Yeah.
From the ones that I've measured, they are a little bit. They have a little bit of that B&W, Bowers and Wilkins, kind of like, lift top end.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Mike mentioned Mirage. So I bought a pair of Mirage just out of curiosity. They had this funky little dome. It was like a little satellite speaker. It wasn't that impressive to me.
Oh, dude, you trying to get us in trouble? You know what? GR Research, same thing. Yeah. Same thing as Paul McGowan. Like, I'm pretty sure if he starts talking about crossover design, gonna be on point, right? If he starts talking about cables, probably not gonna be on the same page. You know what I mean? I can't get with it. Yeah. Starts talking about different types of connectors, I can't get with it, you know? Yeah. But that's the same thing, Same thing with me. Like, you don't see me trying to go in about crossover design. Oh yeah, he said tube connectors. Yeah, you don't see me talking about crossover design. I'm all about DSP though, right? So I try to stay in my lane. Yeah. And if I don't know, I just say, hey, I don't know. This guy probably knows how to do like great crossover design. As far as the expensive components, I don't think it's necessary. So it's one of those things. I think he knows what he's doing when it comes to that sort of thing. But I don't know. I'm not really about I don't know. These are all the subjective things, right? I don't think he'd ever send me anything for review. But I don't have anything against the dude personally, anything like that. I just don't know anything about his speakers. They're probably good.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard them.
But that's pretty much it, man. We're at 2 hours. I thought we were gonna go.
That was a funny. I'd never expected that, but that was pretty funny. Pretty different. But the cool thing is, all right. So Joe and I aren't going to agree.
Yeah.
You guys in the chat, you're not going to agree with us, and so that's the beauty of this thing. Is I think we live in a time that's incredible because there's so many manufacturers, so many great manufacturers that make speakers and subwoofers and amplifiers and projectors and TVs and all this stuff. And the good thing is that we just have access to so many products. We're bound to be able to find something that fits our needs, our budget, and what we like and what we're looking for in performance, and preference and biases too. Yeah.
And so I think you know what I would hope for you guys. I'll leave it at this. I hope that you guys, as the audience, start trying to look for biases that reviewers have and call them out on it. Right?
Yeah.
Ask them, like, do you have this bias? And if they say no, I'm not biased. It's like, come on, are you not a human being?
Yeah.
Like, just be honest. Like, what are they? Right?
Yeah.
And then let the viewer decide if it's fair or not. Right?
Yeah.
So if I go in thinking KEF is not going to be, worth it because it's too expensive and I didn't like their marketing, but then I'm impressed. Well, that, it means something. Anyway, I'm not.
Is he talking you or me? Yeah, it's probably you because I'm drinking a Celsius. This thing's like
I don't drink
sparkling water or something. I don't know.
So yeah, just always I would say be careful of anybody who claims to not be biased because it's not true.
We all have preferences and we all have biases. There's no doubt. Whether it's our past experiences, personal tastes, our own hearing, there's a lot of things that come into play. You're probably biased towards something that is more budget friendly just because it's like, this is affordable to everybody, you know? And I'm not worried about the price. I mean, I'm not necessarily thinking, okay, $100,000 speaker is going to necessarily sound and perform better than a $4,000 or a $400 speaker. So to me, the price doesn't matter. But a lot of times when you get the super budget, you just got to go into it with a lot of like realistic expectations, especially with subwoofers. We talked about that earlier on in the show.
Yeah, well, very cool. I think that's enough for Tim to make our daily shows. I think this last section might get us into some trouble, which I'm all
That's fun, man.
I'm totally cool with.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Having fun, man.
All right. Cool. I'm gonna hop on the after show for a little bit.
Yep.
Michael, thanks for
We'll
being
grab
on.
a-
I was
Yeah, dude.
gonna go here by myself and just do this,
No,
but
man.
popped
No,
in last
we got
minute.
it.
So
We got it on lockdown, dude. Aaron's he's out at the nude beach now, so he's having fun there. And Chana's sleeping, taking a nap. So
Mhm.
we'll keep it going.
All right. Well, cool. I'll see you guys in the after show. Let's see. Do I have some? Yeah. Patreon.com/daily HiFi. If you want to join our after shows, we have a good time.
Yep. We'll come and hang out with you guys.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you guys.
All right.
Take
we'll
care.
be over in a second.